And it's funny, everywhere in America, zip code is in good hands. There's always, he hit the nail on the head. Youth are already empowered. It's not something us adults can give them. It was given to them greater forces. As a matter of fact, our organization is constantly challenging youth to take the lead in America and the world. We believe that youth power and on principles should lead the world. Youth power, meaning youth identity, and principles, the good principles life, can lead the world. But there was one statistic that jumped out at me. Did you say 1 out of 3 are victims of dating violence?
It's essentially the same rates of adults experiencing dating violence, but people don't acknowledge that teenagers experience it at just the same amount, same level.
1 out of 3, that's scary. That's the second number that scared me. I think Akron Burton said it was 15,000 youth in Louisville that were homeless. That's one mighty, mighty scary number. You know, we had a guest just walk in, and I'm just going to give her a couple of minutes because it's one of the greatest organizations I know. Outside your family, there's an organization called Big Brothers, Big Sisters, which is the premier mentoring group in the country, and mentoring works. There's enough evidence-based information. Mentoring is a slam dunk, absent the family. So if you don't mind, something a little, just Miss Swinton, would you mind coming up and just speaking? She's from the Louisville Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I mean, I can't resist. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you so much for letting me take just a couple of minutes to share with you a little bit why I think this topic is so important. I started out my career in social work working for several years at a shelter for battered women. And I worked in this institution at a time when police didn't necessarily see it as an issue or a problem. And some of the violence that I saw was so horrific that I was reading the obituaries on a regular basis to see what was happening to the women that I was working with. And after several years of that kind of work, I came to the conclusion that really the solution has got to be on the prevention end. That somewhere along the line, girls were getting the idea that this was normal and it was okay to be a victim, and young boys were being taught very carefully that violence was how they took power over another individual. So I started working with Big Brothers, Big Sisters to be on the prevention end, and I knew I was in the right spot when one of the first activities that I attended was a canoe trip in southern Indiana. And one of the matches that was there, the big brother was a young professional in the community and had a little brother who was in a home that about a half mile from here. And a very difficult home situation and a very, very angry young man. And in fact, the staff had told me one of the reasons they wanted me there was this child was prone to outbursts. And so we were on the canoe trip, we were getting out of the canoes, and this particular little brother tripped getting out of the canoe and landed flat on his face in the mud. And another one of the kids who was there, a little sister, started laughing at him. And he pulled himself up out of the water so fast and was so red in the face, took one look at his big brother, and then looked at the little girl and said, "That hurts my feelings when you laugh at me like that." And they were quiet for a minute, and she quit laughing, and it was over. They walked off on the trail together and went back to the campground, and that was it. And I thought that one moment told me that it was important to that little brother what that big brother thought, and it was such a much more positive solution than what could have been. So personally, that's one of the reasons that I'm so involved. We have a number of children in this area and all over the several county area that have big brothers and big sisters, and yet violence continues to be a huge problem in our community. As Douglas said, when you look at the research, what's the difference between children who respond with violence and children who grow up in the same community and who don't, who are resilient? Well, when you look at the research, often the reason is because there's that caring adult in that child's life. There's someone that child wants to feel accountable to. I'm really careful when I talk about this, though, because at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we place huge value on the involvement of parents as well. And at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we really see ourselves as partners with that parent. I think any of us who have been a parent, you know that at some point in your child's life, they get to a point of not always thinking you're the smartest person in the world. And so it's really nice if there's another person who's out there who teaches the same values that you would, but who they will listen to. And so at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we're really the deliberate placing together of that adult who can influence the child's life. But we can't do it without community partners. And that's one of the reasons I'm spending my Saturday here. Now, you have to know I'm a huge basketball fan. I would be in front of the TV today watching both Louisville and Kansas play. But that can happen another time. Those things can go on without me. What's really important to me is that we come together here and we discuss solutions. And I see lots of familiar faces in the room, people with other organizations that we've worked with and that we've partnered with, because no one of us has the solution. We're working with Ramsey. We're working with Anthony, who have already spoken. We have a lot of Greek partners, both the fraternities and the sororities of historically African American fraternities and sororities, 100 Black men, all of those folks. We need to come together to work as a solution and figure out what each of us does best, because whatever we do, we need to first do no harm. We really need to help. And so I would like to say I probably talked too long, but thank you for giving me a minute. And just to close with a quote from Nelson Mandela that is especially meaningful to me in the context of what we're talking about today, is that no one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin, their background, or their religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can learn to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. So congratulations, Douglas, and everyone for doing the hard work and the important work we're to do here today. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank Big Brothers and Sisters.